You're supposed to fix the radiator first.
But I want to build a custom bumper for the ZJ.
Add repairs before mods.
All right, let's put a radiator in the Jeep. Welcome back to the channel. We are replacing radiator in the ZJ. We loosened the petcock on the radiator, so we're draining the fluid. Now we're removing the top piece off the radiator support. And I don't know what Jeep was thinking, but look at this. This is all easy stuff. These are 10 millimeters, 13s. This loosens the fan shroud. And then you move on to here because we gotta take the support off. So there's some brackets in here, which you can get to that one. But then, Jeep, how do you get to that bolt? Oh yeah, they made peekaboo holes there. So you loosen it here, and then you lift it up to get to the bolt. Sometimes engineers are just overlook simple stuff like that. Why wouldn't you just do one peekaboo hole here instead of 2 down below? Now I have to take 3 bolts off when I only had to take 1. All right, let's pull this radiator. Ordered the radiator off of Rock Auto. So if this all pans out and works, I will put that link in the description below. It was like $100, so I was trying to find a used one, and I do have some parts Jeeps. I did actually pull the radiator from my parts Jeep a couple months ago while preparing to do this, a couple months ago, but life happens and other projects take priority. When I pulled that radiator from the parts Jeep, yeah, that was looking a little questionable. There was little green spots, on the seams and some holes. I don't know if they were through the radiator, but you know how they push on the fins and whatnot. Just bite the bullet, spend $100, get a new radiator coming. Let's yank this radiator out and see what we got to work with. Well, we got the upper hose and the lower hose and the training lines off the old radiator. And I thought I could sneak this radiator out without taking the fan shroud off. But there's that one fitting that you saw on that lower training hose that kind of stays on there. You could probably get a wrench and take that little nub off the bottom of that radiator. But the new one already has that on there. So power steering box is holding me up for pulling the radiator straight up because of that little training line. So far, taking this fan off isn't too bad. The first nut has come off the fan, which is a 13 millimeter. So 3 more. We should be able to take the fan out and then take this shroud out and then the radiator. And then we'll be able to plop in the new radiator. And I'll show you that one after we get this out of here. Here we go. So much more room for activities. When I get to these points in repairs, my modification brain always goes, okay, this is the time you put electric fans in and a big radiator. Just keep it stock, repair what is needed, and let's get this back on the road so then we can determine what we will do for mods in the future. Well, probably more repairs first. We got the old radiator out of the Jeep. Here is that bottom fitting I was talking about on that training line. That was kind of hard to see when the radiator was in the Jeep. But I'm digging the purchase from Rock Auto so far because it already has these tabs, which I was concerned about reusing these on this radiator. But this radiator comes with everything we need so far, including these bottom tabs for the fan shroud. Those bottom tabs hold the bottom, the fan shroud, because the top is just 2 bolts. So the only thing it looks like we need to salvage is these press-on nuts and remove these brackets from the old onto the new. But like I said earlier, this is already pinched on here, so that's nice. So it'll just be a couple nuts, and this is for the top of the fan shroud and the radiator support. So let's move a couple of those brackets over and throw this new radiator in our clapped out ZJ. Well, we just received the mail and we got a little gift from Bleepin' Jeep. I made a comment on one of his videos and he sent me a free shirt, but he also sent me a bunch of free stickers. What do you think? We should probably put that one on the Jeep right now. This one we'll definitely keep in our off-road Jeep because that's gonna come in handy. Should we put it on right now? I don't even know why I have it ASU. Let's get some proper merch on. Well, you just saw me struggle to get this radiator in. It is very tight. The right move would be to take that. The right move would be to take that battery tray out because it would give you maybe a couple more inches to shift the whole radiator over, because you can't get by that power steering box with that fitting in the lower and with the lower radiator hose. So yeah, I actually got my fingers pinched because I was able to pull the AC condenser out a little bit and then kind of cockeye the radiator to drop in, but my finger was in the way, so then I had to pull it back out to get my finger from between the radiator and the condenser. So yeah, it's a little bit of a chore, but test your patience, so we'll just call it a patient tester. From here, I think I'm just gonna hook all the hoses up because I can reach them from up here, I believe, with the fan out now and the radiator support and the fan shroud. So let's hook the hoses up. Tranny line, you know, it's right here, easy. And we can plop that bottom one in right there in the lower radiator hose. Well, I just ended up doing the lower radiator hose and that lower in the lower tranny line from below. It was just as easy. The last nut in the clutch fan. And this is also a very tedious job. Plus it's making me use my left hand. I don't like that. So far so good. No leaks, but we do have to go to O'Reilly's and go get some more antifreeze. But looking very promising so far. Didn't get it quite to warming temp because we're out of antifreeze, so let's go get antifreeze. Let's go for a ride. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. We're going. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Jump. Good girl. Jeepers. Well, this is a rare occasion. First time, no leaks, and looks like we got all the air bubbles out of the system. We have heat inside, and the reservoir's full. Upper radiator hoses nice and hot and tight. I think we're done. Again, usually have to do this twice or 3 times with my luck, but sometimes you win some. Well, now that we did some repairs and put a new radiator in the Grand Cherokee, now it's time to do some mods. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time.